People always ask me, how do you do it all? And the short answer is, I don't. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Law School After Dark, where we're reading cases after work and hoping that we remember to eat. Today, we're going to talk about how I balance work, school, and life, and we're going to talk about it in different ways. We're going to talk about what my current schedule looks like. We're going to talk about kind of what I've had to let go, what systems I have in place to help me survive, and how I protect my mental health as best as I can. We'll talk about what my current schedule looked like this last spring. It's going to look a little bit different this fall, but basically it's the same. I work full time, so I work 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, and I get a 30-minute lunch break. I then typically drive to school. School is about a 20-minute drive with traffic, and classes start at 5:45 p.m. So I have just over an hour from getting off work to when my classes start. Last semester, some of my classes ended at 9:25 p.m. and others ended at 8:55 p.m. So that meant that I would get home anywhere between 9:30 and 10 o'clock, depending on the day. And classes are Monday through Thursday. So the latest that you're going to be in class most likely is 9:25 p.m. at my institution. Sometimes classes start at 5:30, but most of the time they start at 5:45. One of the things that my friends and I decided to do is that we decided that Sundays are our study days. So we have group study on Sunday afternoons. And now that was not every Sunday. In our first year, we actually did it a lot, and we probably averaged every other Sunday. This last semester, we maybe met up 3 or 4 times just because we're in different classes and life has just gotten a lot more difficult. We're all in different areas, we're all in different places. So it just didn't make sense to meet up every Sunday. Also, that first year, we were scared. We didn't know what finals were going to look like. Something I haven't mentioned in this series yet is that most of your grades in law school are 90% your final, 10% participation. That means that you can go the whole semester thinking that you know the material and then you have it down, and then you get to the final, which is 90% of your grade, and realize that you didn't know this huge concept or you didn't understand it the way that you thought you would. Finding time to study is important, and for me, that's Sundays. I also use my 30-minute lunch break to catch up for that night, and I try to fit in, if I'm behind, that hour that I have between work and class starting. I will catch up and I'll finish reading or I'll review. But most of my reading does get done on Sundays. If I'm working all day and then in class all night and getting home at 10 p.m., I'm exhausted. And so I don't have the energy to stay up the rest of the night reading for the next day. I get as much as I possibly can done on Sunday. Something that I do that not everybody does is I also carve out time in my schedule for me and for my friends. What that looks like for me is Friday nights and Saturdays are no law school days. I don't do any law school Friday night and on Saturday. I need a break for my mental health. If I did something every single day, I know that I would not finish law school because I would burn myself out. So I made that a rule that I don't do law school on Saturdays. I have that time set aside for me. My friends know that Saturdays are the day that I can hang out. Let's talk about some of the things that I've had to let go of since going back to law school, working full time, being in the evening program. One of the big things is social events. I'm an introvert, and so I didn't do much on weeknights anyway, but I've noticed since going to law school that I'm having to say no a lot more than I thought I was going to. And it's not because I don't want to, it's because I'm in class. I've had to say, I can't, I have class, or I can't, I have a project, or something like that. And I didn't realize how much I was having to say no or how much I was doing on weeknights until I didn't have weeknights. I've also had to pass on like some work trips. So there's a conference for my job that I could attend every October, but it's a national conference. So it's been in Baltimore and Philadelphia and Orlando. And I've had to pass on attending that conference since starting law school because I can't miss school. It's always during the week, and I just can't justify missing multiple days of class for a work trip that isn't required for my work. Some of my classmates have attended work trips and things like that. And so I'm not saying that you can't do that. That's just something that I've given up personally so that I can keep going to classes and I don't fall too far behind. One of the things that I've had to give up is being a perfectionist. They talk about how law school is a bunch of type A people all pushed together into one room. And while that is true, I have decided that it's just not worth being perfect so that I can have some sanity. I just don't care about being top of my class or getting top paper. I do care about keeping my scholarship and I do care about being above the curve, but I don't care about being the best anymore. So let's talk about some of the systems that I have in place that help me survive. The first thing is that I say no. I will tell you no. If I'm tired, if I have too much to do, or anything like that, I'm going to say no. And while that is not necessarily something that you would think of as a system, it is something that I've had to implement for myself. Now, a system that I have in place that I think works wonderful for me is I have a Notion dashboard. My Notion dashboard has every single one of my reading assignments for the entire semester. It has the reading assignment, the class, and the due date so that I can see everything that I have to do the entire semester. I work on this from the time that we get the syllabus, and then if things change, I do update it. But this way, it has papers, it has the readings, it has everything in one place because I can see my Notion dashboard on my laptop. I can pull it up on my phone, I can pull it up on my iPad. I always have it. So if I'm like, oh, what was the reading assignment for tomorrow? I can pull it up and then I have a status on there. I can see if I've started it, if I haven't started it, or if I'm already finished with it. So sometimes we have so much reading that I am like, wait, did I read that? Did I not read that? And so I can just pull up and it'll be like, oh, you started reading it, but you didn't finish. This has saved my life. I don't know what I would do without this Notion dashboard. Some people can have like written planners or they have the syllabi in their bags all the time or they have them in their emails and that's great. But I can pull up this dashboard and just see everything. And since I have it by due date, I can see exactly what I need to do for tomorrow or what's due this week. It has been a lifesaver and I am never going back. You will have to pull this Notion dashboard out of my cold, dead hands. That is how much this has saved me. And I have friends that are like, Michelle, when is this due? Because they know that I have this Notion dashboard and that I can easily pull it up, see what it says. It's wonderful. Highly recommend figuring out something that works for you. Some of my friends use their Google Calendar and they put everything in their Google Calendar So they'll have their classes and they have the assignments and all of that. That's just not for me. That's not for me. Notion is the way to go for me. Another system that I have in place is my Sunday reset. So while I'm also doing all of my schoolwork on Sundays, I'm also resetting my house on Sundays. I don't have time to clean my house during the week. And so the dishes pile up, the laundry piles up. I just don't have the time or energy to do that at 10 o'clock at night. So I do everything on Sundays. I wake up, I start a load of laundry, I get the dishes going, and then typically by the time my laundry is done, I will start meal prepping for the week. I want to talk a little bit about how I protect my mental health when I can. Law school is hard. Law school is a lot. And when you put that on top of working full time, it's a lot. And so I'll be honest, I struggle. I struggle a lot. And that's okay. Some of the things that I have in place to protect my mental health are the no law school Saturdays. It is my Sunday resets. But it's also giving myself permission to fail. Now, you could say that this goes back to the letting go of being a perfectionist. I think telling myself that it's okay if I fail is something that protects my mental health on the days when I just can't read any more cases, or I can't keep going, or I just don't want to get out of bed because I'm so tired. I just tell myself it's okay to fail. It's okay to not show up today 100%. If I can give 20% that day, that's enough, because I might only have 40% to give the whole day. And if I'm giving 20% to law school, that's half of my energy that I'm giving to law school that day. That's okay. I don't have to show up 100% to law school every day. In movies and TV shows and things like that, law school tends to be portrayed that you have to fight to be the best, and it's a very competitive environment. And if you're not going to be competitive, then you're just going to fail. That's not the law school that I've experienced as a part time student. I think that our part time cohort is very collaborative and not competitive. And so that also gives me permission to fail. It gives me permission to know that I don't have to be the best, because my classmates are also not trying to be the best. Now, I don't want this to come across as saying that we aren't trying, because we try very hard. We study, we put in the work, we put in the time, we put in the hours, but we're not competing against each other to be the best. We're just competing against ourselves, I guess is a good way of putting it. I was scared that law school was going to be this competitive thing that I was going to have to deal with. And that's not the case. I have never felt like I've had to try so hard to be the best at something. And my goal is average. I want to be average, which for us, the curve has to fall between, like, I think a 2.9 and a 3.1. If I can fall in that range, great. I am happy to be average. And that is something that, for my mental health, I am okay with doing. Balance doesn't always mean having it all. Sometimes it means just being honest about what you have in the season that you are in. And that's okay. Some days you're going to give 100%, and other days you're going to give 10%. That's what balance means. If you have questions or comments about what it's like being a part time law student and working full time, drop those in the comments. I'll respond to questions, comments, and if it makes sense, I'll answer that in an upcoming vlog. But Otherwise, I'll see you next week for more Law School After Dark, where it's going to be the same struggle, but a different topic.